I opened a small noodle shop, mainly offering refillable bowls of noodles. At first, I simply wanted to give people in need a warm, comforting meal. But one day, a woman named Li Lei came in with her 6 children and ordered a single bowl of noodles, yet ended up having 18 refills, treating my place like her personal kitchen. I tried to advise her kindly, but she secretly recorded a video accusing me of being a heartless shop owner, stirring up the online crowd against me. The next day, a group of unruly men surrounded my shop. They ordered one bowl each and stayed there all day. When I tried to talk to them, things got out of hand. When I opened my eyes again, I was back to that same day. In front of me stood the same woman, Li Lei, leading 6 children into the shop once more. This time, I smiled and welcomed them. "Boss, one bowl of the cheapest spring noodles," the woman in worn-out clothes said softly. Behind her were 6 frail, quiet children. I forced myself to stay calm and friendly. "You've arrived. Come in quickly. Please have a seat." My reaction clearly surprised her. She probably expected me to refuse or argue so she could act hurt and gain sympathy online. But instead, I simply smiled. "Come on now, how could I ever turn away a customer?" I replied warmly. I quickly arranged the table for them and filled their cups with hot tea. "The kids must be hungry. Have some warm water first." The caution in her eyes slowly faded, replaced with a glint of calculation. She must have thought I was just too soft-hearted. Clearing her throat, she began her usual routine. "Boss, we don't have much money. We just want one bowl of spring noodles." She rummaged in her bag for a long time, then pulled out a handful of crumpled coins, exactly 10. I smiled and accepted the money. "All right, one bowl of spring noodles. Please wait a moment." I turned toward the kitchen, but before cooking, I discreetly adjusted the security camera to get a better view. Once everything was set, I began preparing the noodles. Before long, a steaming bowl of Yangchun noodles was ready. "Here you go," I said gently. "Please enjoy while it's hot." Li Lei quickly picked up her chopsticks, her eyes showing a mix of hunger and intent. After finishing the first bowl, she looked up. "Boss, another one," she said with a small, casual smile. Without hesitation, I prepared another, then a third, then a fourth. All the while, I kept my calm smile, my hands moving steadily, my service unwavering.
Li grew more and more audacious, her voice louder each time she called for more. At one point, she even pulled out her phone, striking poses, recording every angle, every movement. Watching her, I couldn't help but let out a cold, quiet laugh. This woman's mind runs deep, and her shamelessness runs even deeper. She was clearly waiting for me to lose patience. For that one moment, I'd snap, scold her, or tell her to leave. That way, she'd have the perfect excuse to start a scene. My former boss, the old man who helped out in the shop, couldn't hold it in. He leaned closer and whispered, "Boss, that girl!" I simply smiled at him and shook my head, signaling him not to worry. By the time she reached her 19th bowl, Li finally couldn't hold back any longer. Seeing that I remained calm, giving her not even a flicker of reaction, she decided to take the initiative. She cleared her throat, lifted her phone, and looked straight into the camera. Then, in a voice trembling with forced fragility and false strength, she said, "Everyone, look at this. The shop owner is truly kind. We've eaten so much, yet he hasn't complained once. He's nothing like those heartless restaurant owners people talk about online. For poor folks like us to meet someone so good, it's such a blessing." Her little performance, I had seen through it long ago. First, she would paint me as a kind and generous owner, lifting me to the heavens, so that the moment I dared show the slightest displeasure, that contrast, that instant rupture of tone in her video was exactly what she wanted. The moment I snapped, the internet would explode, and I would become the perfect villain for her little drama. The more dramatic the fall, the greater her online fame. Killing a man with praise? She was truly an expert at that art.
Inside, I laughed coldly, but outwardly, I kept my polite smile. "Ma'am," I said kindly, "don't say that. I opened this shop so everyone can have a warm meal. As long as my doors are open, no one leaves here hungry." My words were simple but sincere enough to draw a few claps from nearby diners. A flicker of irritation flashed across Lili's face, so faint you could miss it if you weren't watching closely. She darted her eyes around and in an instant came up with her next move. "Boss," she said sweetly, her tone dripping with false modesty, "you're such a good man, but the noodles alone aren't very filling. Why don't you add a bit of minced meat for us, huh?" I smiled again and nodded. No problem at all. I turned back into the kitchen, scooped a generous spoonful of fragrant minced meat, and spread it evenly over the fresh bowl of noodles, enough to fill the children's stomachs. Lili fell silent. The lines she had rehearsed so carefully caught in her throat. She couldn't understand why was this shop owner acting like a fool, granting her every wish without hesitation. The customers around us, who once looked at me with pity, now began to look at me with quiet admiration. "This man, he's like a living bodhisattva," someone whispered. Yes, in times like these, people like that are rare. As the murmur spread, Lili's face shifted from pale to livid. Her plan had failed. Completely. So she did the only thing she could. Kept eating. The 20th bowl. The 25th. By the 30th, the children were slumped over the chairs, too full to move, their faces turning pale. Even Lili's stomach was swollen, tight beneath her clothes. There was no joy in her face, only the bitter realization that her performance had collapsed. She shot me a venomous glare, as if I were the one who had taken everything from her, then gathered her children and stormed out of the shop. When the door shut behind her, silence returned. The old sanitation worker approached me, worry etched across his face. "Boss," he said quietly, "you've really shown too much kindness today. That family came here to take advantage. You can't spoil people like that." I gave him a calm smile. "Don't worry, Uncle. I know what I'm doing." After the last customers left, I locked up the shop. Then I saved and backed up all the footage from the security cameras. But I knew that alone wouldn't be enough to bring Lili down. There was even a company behind her. I opened Lili's short video account. Hundreds of clips filled the feed. The content all followed the same formula. Her with 6 children, filmed in shabby rented rooms, capturing the simplest meals to a mournful soundtrack. Each clip slipped in an ad or a shopping link. It was clear the company had manufactured a persona for her, the abandoned wife, single-handedly raising 6 children, a heroic, struggling mother scraping by in the city. In the comments, people wrote, "Stay strong, sister," waves of sympathy and encouragement that pulled up viewers' hearts. Relying on that image, Lili amassed nearly 1 million followers. I opened her latest upload, posted half an hour ago. It was the footage from my shop, but edited with careful intent. In the video, she and the children ate with relish. I served with a constant smile, fulfilling every request. The soundtrack was warm and touching. The title read, "In a city that seems heartless, I found a place of warmth. Blessed to find this miracle noodle shop." My shop's address was pinned at the top of the post. The comments swelled with praise. "The owner is handsome and kind. Must visit. Saved the address. Coming tomorrow to check in." Those messages translated into real people at my door. But their plan ran deeper. Once the crowd arrived, service would inevitably strain, or, for cost reasons, I couldn't offer unlimited extra bowls to everyone. Tensions would flare. Then she would leap in to denounce me for changing, accusing me of being blinded by traffic and fame. And all the criticism, all the smears would fall on me. She would harvest more views, more engagement, 2 gains with 1 arrow. Fame for her, ruin for me. I looked at my phone and thought only of her next move. I was shaking, every nerve in my body trembling with anger. I turned off the video and dialed the police. By then, Lee Lely's video and mine had already gone viral. Overnight, my little noodle shop had become a celebrity check-in spot. At 8 in the morning, I unlocked the door and froze. Outside was a sea of people. Phones everywhere, raised high like rows of black gun barrels aimed at me. Camera lenses pressed close, almost touching my face. "Are you the owner?" someone shouted. "The legendary 10-yuan heavenly noodle boss who serves until we're full? We saw the video from the mother of 6 and came all the way here. You're amazing, boss. Such a good man. Now, how about a bowl of Yongchun noodles for us too? Let's see if it's really unlimited." The crowd was restless, a blur of noise and faces. Some had come out of genuine curiosity, some just to watch the chaos. But most had that same glimmer in their eyes: greed, calculation, the hunger for spectacle. Cameras were raised high, live streams already running, captions flashing across their screens. "Testing the 10-yuan unlimited noodle shop. Let's teach the noodle boss a lesson today." I had prepared myself for this. Still, I kept the same polite smile I wore yesterday. "Welcome, everyone. Please don't push. Come in one by one. There's room for everyone inside. I promise, no one leaves hungry." I shouted over the noise, trying to maintain order. The shop filled up in minutes. "Bus, one bowl of Yongchun noodles. Bus, more noodles here. Hurry up, I've been waiting 5 minutes already." The shouts came nonstop. Alone in the back kitchen, I ran between the boiling pots and the counter, my hands moving automatically, stirring, serving, counting, smiling. Sweat soaked through my shirt, my hands burned from the steam. A young man with bleached hair was live streaming near the counter, yelling into his phone. "Everyone watching, we've already added a few bowls. Looks like the boss can't keep up. Maybe he's running out of steam." His friends joined in instantly, voices mocking and sharp. "Yeah, the boss looks weak. Yesterday that mother of 6 had over 30 bowls, and he handled it just fine. What's the matter today, boss? Can't handle a few more?" I carried the bowl over, forcing a smile to stay on my face. "Sorry to keep you waiting, kid. It's a busy day today. Here you go, your noodles." I set the steaming bowl in front of him, piled high. He froze for a moment, clearly not expecting kindness. For a second, the mockery in his eyes faltered. Then, flustered, he grabbed his chopsticks and began shoveling noodles into his mouth, his live stream still running but silent. By the end of the day, I had served more than 300 customers, over 1,000 bowls of extra noodles. At 10 that night, I walked the last customer to the door. Then I collapsed into a chair, every muscle in my body drained. The shelves were empty, the ingredients all gone, and after counting the day's takings and expenses, I had lost nearly 8,000 yuan. Just as I was about to close up, the old sanitation worker appeared again at the doorway, his eyes filled with concern. He didn't eat. Instead, he quietly began cleaning up the mess on the tables. Bent back, slow movements, silent understanding. "Boss," he said softly, "you're torturing yourself like this. Keep going at this rate, and your shop will collapse." I shook my head, pulled open the drawer, and took out an envelope. "Uncle," I said, handing it to him, "this is the money I've made over the past few days. I need a favor. Tomorrow morning when the sun's up, please deliver this to the orphanage on the west side of the city. Make the donation for me." He opened the envelope. A thick stack of bills. His hands trembled. "This must be tens of thousands, isn't it? Didn't you lose money today? Are you trying to ruin yourself?" I smiled faintly. "It's fine, Uncle. What I want is to give something back. No matter how hard things get, I can't forget why I started." He looked at me, eyes filled with something between sadness and respect, then finally sighed. He took the envelope carefully into his coat pocket. After he left, I locked the door. The shop fell silent again. I sat in front of my computer, and began editing the footage from the security cameras, the faces of those streamers, the greed in the crowd, my frantic movements in the kitchen, and finally, the scene of me handing the envelope to the old man, entrusting him with the donation, and the words I spoke to him. I stitched it all together.
Did they really think I was that foolish? That I'd hand over tens of thousands of yuan to an old man, someone who often came for noodles but wasn't close to me, and say all those heartfelt words as if I meant them? Of course not. Once I finished editing the footage, I opened another short video platform and found a well-known expose creator, a man famous for tearing down scams and exposing hidden truths, Old Lao. I sent him my story along with all the video evidence. Within minutes, he replied, furious, outraged, and promised he'd go public with it the next day. Only then did I collapse onto the table and finally drift off to sleep. The next morning, I opened my shop as usual. Outside, the crowd was still there. A sea of faces, phones, and cameras. This time, I was ready. I had tripled my supplies from the day before. And then, Lily appeared again. But she wasn't alone. Behind her were several men, each carrying professional cameras. It seemed the media company backing her had decided to make their move. Today, she arrived looking completely different. Makeup immaculate, clothes elegant, a bright red banner in her hands. Lily, smiling radiantly, stepped into the shop. "Boss, we meet again!" She handed me the banner, gold letters shining across it.
Where there is kindness in the world, there is warmth in a bowl of noodles. Before I could react, the cameras behind her zoomed in on me. Here we go again, another performance. "Boss," she began sweetly, "I came here today to thank you in person. Ever since my video went viral, your business has been booming, hasn't it? Now the whole internet knows you're a kind man, and your noodle shop's become famous because of it. If you think about it, you actually owe me some gratitude, don't you?" Her words were smooth, polite, but every sentence was a trap. The implication was clear. I had used her kindness to build my fame. A murmur rippled through the customers. Whispers, sideways glances, uncertainty. I looked at her, and a cold smile formed in my mind. So, this was it. When the usual trick stopped working, Lily Lee decided to change her strategy, to step on others and call it virtue. I was just about to respond when a loud, firm voice boomed from the doorway. Thank her? Thank her for what? For being shameless? For dragging a bunch of fake kids around to scam free meals? A middle-aged man in a baseball cap strode into the shop, broad-shouldered, solid build, holding a selfie stick with a live stream already running. "Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Old Lao, and today we're exposing one of the biggest staged acts of the year, a filthy scam hiding behind the mask of so-called motherly love." Lily Lee's face froze. "Who are you? You can't just come in here spouting nonsense."
Old Lao ignored her entirely. He turned his phone camera directly toward her and continued, his tone sharp, deliberate. "Real name, Li Su Hua, age 32, never married, no children. The 6 kids you've seen in her videos, not related to her in any way. Every single one of them was hired, child actors paid by the company behind her, 200 yuan per appearance. You people prey on the public's sympathy." Old Lao's voice cut through the noise like a blade. "You fabricated a tragic past, built yourself up as a single mother hero, and made money off other people's tears. Tell me, can you still say that's not true?" Each word struck like a hammer. Lily Lee's face turned pale, then blotched red, then drained again. The live stream chat erupted. What? The kids were hired? Disgusting. Using our pity for clicks? I knew it. No real mother would drag her kids into debt streams. Li's breath hitched. Panic set in. Her voice broke as she screamed, "You're lying! You're slandering me! These are my kids! My own flesh and blood!" She reached out to grab one of the boys beside her, but the child flinched away, terrified. That boy, the same one from last week's news, the one revealed to have been abused, so thin his bones showed through his skin. Old Lau gave a cold laugh. Then, with a single tap on his phone, a new video began to play. On the screen, a worn-out woman, face drawn, eyes swollen from sleepless nights. Her voice trembled, but burned with truth.
Please, someone help my son. He was taken by that woman, the one online. My child isn't an actor. He's mine. I admit it. Her voice cracked, part confession, part collapse. I let that company rent my son. They said it was just for a video, 200 yuan for one day. My husband's sick. We needed the money. I didn't know that use him to lie to people. Please. She broke down, sobbing. Please, give me back my child. Don't call the police. Please don't take him away. The lie unraveled in front of thousands of watching eyes. Li crumbled to the floor, her face ashen, her lips trembling without sound. But the team behind her moved fast. The cameramen, those same men who'd been filming her fake tears, suddenly surged forward. Stop filming! You're violating her image rights! Turn off the stream right now, or we'll sue you. Old Lau didn't flinch. He turned his lens toward them, eyes sharp. Go ahead, sue me. But touch me once, and I'll call the police. Tell them you assaulted me on livestream. The threat hit home. The men froze, their bluster evaporated. Li's voice returned, rising like a wounded animal's cry. What did I do wrong? I just wanted to make a living. This society, it's cruel to women like me. I fought to survive, and you all just want to destroy me. Her voice echoed through the small noodle shop, raw and hysterical, but this time, no one believed her. Her face twisted into a grotesque snarl. You're all conspiring to bully a helpless woman like me. I'll sue you. I'll ruin you all. She looked like a madwoman. But the clips from this livestream were quickly snipped, edited and weaponized by Old Lau's team. They flooded the internet. Hashtags like exposed fraud, fake single mom, and tearful scam trended within hours.
The kind noodle shop owner surged to the top of public attention. The wave of outrage immediately swallowed Li and the agency behind her. Her image collapsed utterly. The woman once mourned as a heroic mother became a shameless fraud, scorned, shunned, her accounts shut down. Contracts were canceled. Everywhere, people called her a mere pawn shoved onto a stage. What was truly frightening, though, was the company behind her, McCain, ruthless and unscrupulous, rumored even to have ties to the criminal underworld. I hadn't just exposed their Ned Arden asset. I had, in effect, dismantled one of their public faces. They would never forgive me. But their retribution did not come immediately. For 2 days, everything was unusually calm. Li and her management company seemed to vanish from public view. No more headlines, no more scandals. My noodle shop returned to its quiet routine. Quieter, even more beloved than before. People across the city began to admire my sincerity. They came to the shop not out of curiosity, but out of respect. No one mentioned the endless noodles anymore. After finishing one bowl, they insisted on paying for the second. The sanitation worker even brought me a letter of gratitude from the orphanage. I framed it and hung it on the wall, where the sunlight caught it every morning. Everything seemed to be heading in a good direction. But inside, an unease was growing. Slow, deep, and cold. Silence before the storm is always the most dangerous kind. What should I do now? The thought gnawed at me night after night. That evening, after closing the shop as usual, I was about to leave when someone appeared at the door, someone I never expected. He stepped inside alone, face grave, eyes unreadable. "Boss, can we talk?" "Master Lau, why are you here?" "I came to warn you, to tell you to be careful." Master Lau's voice was low and steady. "You mean the agency behind Li Lili?" I asked.
"I investigated them," he continued. "It's worse than you think. I dug up a few things. They don't just manufacture internet stars. They're tied to shady networks, even illegal loan operations. Lili was just a cash-generating tool they put on display. Now that tool's broken, they've taken a heavy hit. They will retaliate." I traced one of their shareholders. Goes by the name Lonka. He has prior convictions, ran with the underworld when he was young, and still commands a crew of thugs. A memory flashed through my head. Those men who beat me before, they might have been his. "Are you sure they were his men?" I asked. Master Lau looked at me with a flat honesty. "I came for 2 reasons," he said. "First, to warn you. Second, to say goodbye. I'm leaving the city for a while, to lie low. They've already tracked down my address. Someone splashed paint on my door. Even a big expose blogger with tens of millions of followers was forced to flee. What can a noodle shop owner do? I know how it feels, the tide of desperation rising. Must I, in another life, still selling salt at the hands of those thugs?" I blurted, a thought sharpening in my mind. "Master Lau, you said they're involved in loan sharking, right? Are you certain? Do you have any proof?" Master Lau hesitated. "This is what I obtained from a contact inside the business, but there's no hard evidence yet." A plan formed quickly in my head. "Master Lau, I've got an idea. Maybe we can trap them once and for all." "This plan will need your cooperation, and it's dangerous." "How?" he asked. "I know you've spent years exposing scams and you fear no one. My idea is simple but risky. You use your channel, the one with tens of millions of followers, and post a new video. In it, you level even harsher accusations against the management company, imply they're involved in illegal activities like loan sharking and violent debt collection. Then announce that at 8 p.m. this Friday, you'll come to my noodle shop to live stream and reveal the crucial evidence you claim to have." "Do you already have proof?" Master Lau chuckled softly. "No, of course not. The point is to force the company's hand. They won't know you're staging this. In their minds, once you promise to publish evidence in a live broadcast, their reputation will be on the line. They'll have only one choice left." It was all set before 8 p.m. Master Lau and I had coordinated with the police in advance. The plan was laid out, not as a desperate plea for martyrdom, but as the report of a threatened victim. I told the police I had received threatening calls from the management company and that strange men had been watching the shop. Combined with Master Lau's video, I stressed the serious concerns for our personal safety and asked for police protection that Friday night. They accepted the report and promised to consider the request. Brilliant. Leave it at that. The next 3 days stretched taut with tension. The noodle shop stayed open, but an invisible pressure settled over everything. Shadows lingered at the doorway, people slipping by like sentries. I assumed they were the company's watchers. I pretended not to notice, kept smiling at customers, kept cooking and adding bowls while quietly counting down the hours. Friday evening, 7 p.m., I sent the last customer out and shut the door early. Master Lau arrived on time. A little tight, but his eyes steady. "Boss, everything ready?" he asked. I nodded, pointing to the back kitchen where we had hidden several covert cameras. "Don't worry, Lau. Tonight, they'll see a performance they'll never forget." We sat in the shop and waited in silence. Minutes crawled. At 7:50 p.m., the alley erupted with hurried footsteps. They were here. Master Lao and I met each other's gaze. Our chests tightened. A furious pounding hit the door. "Open up, you!" I didn't move. They kicked hard, then, getting no response, began prying the door with crowbars. The metallic shrieks filled the air. Master Lao's hand started to tremble. Just then, the mouth of the alley flared with blue and red light. The sharp wail of sirens split the air. "Don't move! Police!" A tactical team in riot gear charged forward. I had planned to wait, to let the thugs smash up the shop before calling for help. But I hadn't expected the police to have been lying in wait all along. The gang froze, panic flashing across their faces. Crowbars and wrenches clattered to the ground. A few of them dropped to their knees. One officer, tall, calm, authoritative, stepped through the doorway. "Good evening. We're from the City Criminal Investigation Division. We came here in response to a report." "A report? But I'm the one who called the police," I said quickly. "Not this time," the officer replied evenly. "This operation came by direct order from our superiors." At that moment, a familiar figure emerged from behind the line of officers, wearing a police uniform. It was the sanitation worker. He smiled faintly. "Boss," he said, "long time no see." I stared at the uniformed officer, my head spinning as a flood of new information hit me. The man I had seen every day was not merely a sanitation worker. He was a high-ranking police officer, quietly watching and waiting. He greeted me with a calm, familiar kindness, the kind of disguise worn for years. It turned out the management company had long been in the police's sights. We've been tracking them for a while. The company's founder was once a gangster. He built his empire on violent debt collection. As the internet grew, he rebranded, a talent agency on the surface, criminal operations underneath. Illegal online lending, fraud, preying on young people. They've hurt many. We wanted to take them down, but they were slippery. The core evidence was buried. The ledgers were falsified. We lacked the breakthrough. For a moment, I had believed there was no way to dismantle this ring before I left the city. Then, my small acts of kindness had forced their hand and given the police an opening. From the night I entrusted the envelope, their unit had begun to move. They'd staged bait, letting themselves be duped to lure the gang into a trap. "Don't worry. This time, the thugs will be their own witnesses. We'll open the case and dismantle the company behind them." He paused, the professional kindness in his voice softening. "I have to go now. Bring these criminals to justice. You two go home and rest. Tomorrow morning, you'll wake up to the news. Make sure to stay safe, comrades. You've worked hard." The next morning, sunlight streamed through the rolling shutters, scattering warm golden stripes across the floor. I reached for my phone. The headlines flooding the screen confirmed everything the old man had said. The criminal syndicate that had long hidden in the city's shadows was taken down in one sweep. Mulunka, the ringleader, and his accomplices had all been arrested.
Their charges ranged from organized crime and illegal business operations to loan sharking and multiple other offenses. In the news footage, the children who had been exploited were finally rescued, reunited with their families, now safe and sound. I took a deep breath and rolled up the shutter of my noodle shop. Justice may walk a thorny road, but it always finds the light. That morning, the regulars began to arrive one after another. Workers from the nearby construction site sat down at their usual tables. "Boss, can I have another serving of noodles?" one of them asked. "Of course," I smiled. "As long as you can eat, you'll never go hungry here." But the man shook his head, pulling a 10 yuan note from his pocket and placing it firmly into my hand. "No, sir. Your kindness shouldn't be taken for granted. Good people deserve to be repaid." By late afternoon, the old sanitation worker returned, now once again in his simple civilian clothes. He sat at his familiar spot by the window. Sunlight poured through the glass, coating his steaming bowl of noodles in gold. This time, not just my noodle shop, but my entire life had finally stepped into a future filled with warmth and light. The criminal syndicate that had lurked in the city's shadows was finally taken down in one sweep. Its ringleader, Long Ka, and his accomplices were all captured. Their crimes ranged from organized underground activities and illegal business operations to unlawful lending and several other offenses. In the news footage, the children who had been rescued were seen returning safely to their families, finally placed under proper care. I drew in a deep breath and rolled up the shutter of my noodle shop. How wonderful! The path of righteousness in this world is never an easy one. One by one, my regular customers began to arrive. The sanitation worker, the laborers from the nearby construction site. "Boss, can I get another bowl of noodles?" one of them asked. "Of course," I smiled. "As long as you can eat, I'll make sure you're full."
But he shook his head, pulled a 10 yuan note from his pocket, and pressed it firmly into my hand. "No need, sir. Your kindness isn't something we should take for granted. Good people deserve to be repaid." That evening, the old sanitation worker returned, no longer in his police uniform, but once again the humble old man I'd always known. He sat at his usual seat by the window. The golden light of sunset poured through the glass, bathing his steaming bowl of noodles in warmth. This time, both my noodle shop and my life had finally stepped into a future truly bright and peaceful. The criminal syndicate that had lurked in the city's shadows was finally taken down in one sweep. Its ringleader, Lanka, and his accomplices were all captured. Their crimes ranged from organized underground activities and illegal business operations to unlawful lending and several other offenses. In the news footage, the children who had been rescued were seen returning safely to their families, finally placed under proper care. I drew in a deep breath and rolled up the shutter of my noodle shop. How wonderful! The path of righteousness in this world is never an easy one. One by one, my regular customers began to arrive. The sanitation worker, the laborers from the nearby construction site. "Boss, can I get another bowl of noodles?" one of them asked. "Of course," I smiled. "As long as you can eat, I'll make sure you're full." But he shook his head, pulled a 10 yuan note from his pocket, and pressed it firmly into my hand. "No need, sir. Your kindness isn't something we should take for granted. Good people deserve to be repaid." That evening, the old sanitation worker returned, no longer in his police uniform, but once again the humble old man I'd always known. He sat at his usual seat by the window. The golden light of sunset poured through the glass, bathing his steaming bowl of noodles in warmth. This time, both my noodle shop and my life had finally stepped into a future truly bright and peaceful.